IPC National General Secretary Christine, welcome. I'm going to allow you to pronounce your surname because if I do it incorrectly, then it's problematic. Can you explain why?
Thank you very much for the invitation. In my language, which is Damaranama, the clicks have different meanings. So if you attach the wrong click to a word, it changes the meaning of the word. My last name is pronounced Aochamus, and the click is the exclamation mark, which you pronounce by putting the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and that way you're able to make that sound, and it means and it sounds Aochamus. That's how you pronounce it. But thank you for not attempting it.
Thank you.
And for respecting my name. Many people attempt it and it
Comes
has
out
different
wrong.
meanings. But I'm also okay with being referred to as Christine or NGS. I'm not fuzzy about people trying to say my name. If they can't say it properly, it's okay to call me Christine or NGS.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. NGS, we're just going to jump into it.
Sure.
We are very excited and honored to have you here as our very first guest on our very first podcast episode of the NamSense. Welcome. NGS IPC appeared on the Namibian political arena almost 3 years ago, and since then has established itself as the movement of change, forever growing. Can you explain to us a few things like why is IPC considered the people-centered government?
Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm really honored to be the first guest because they say the beginning sets the tone for things to follow.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, I live up to that expectation. The IPC was formed on the 2nd of August 2020, and ever since we've come onto the political scene, we shook up things a little bit, and it has made a few people uneasy. Other people were very excited, and they still are excited because we see it in the growth of the movement as we move forward. Why are we people-centric party, or why are we being seen as such? Is because that is at the very core of our existence. It's one of our principles to be a party that is premised on grassroots participatory democracy. We believe in having the people of Namibia at the center of all that we do because we're doing it for the people of Namibia. It is unproductive to lead a political party that is governed by a club of elites who sit in a conference hall somewhere and determine the future of this nation. We believe that if we are to make regulations around carving a canoe, only the people in the Zambezi and in the Kavango regions where they have these perennial waters and they use rivers and they use canoes would be able to tell us what the best type of wood would be that we will need to make canoes that can survive over time. It's important that we focus on the people of Namibia and they be the center of all the decisions that we take, but also contribute to the design of the governance system, the design of the economic system, the design of the social interventions that we have for the country should come from the people of Namibia. Ultimately, it's for them that we would be making these decisions.
Perfect. Tell us about what an IPC government would look like.
The IPC government is, again, stemming from the focus on the people of Namibia, but also we have adopted what we call MPH as the guide in how we will govern Namibia. M standing for meritocracy. We would identify people who are most suited for an assignment to occupy that space, whether they were part of the liberation struggle, whether they come from Aminuis, whether they have never been to the city of Bantu, as long as they occupy and possess the necessary skills and knowledge and expertise, and they are the best person for the job, they would get it. We're not bothered by where you've been, how far you've jumped, how big or tall or short or whatever definition people give to people you are, as long as you are the best suited candidate on merit to occupy that space and to deliver the services that are required for the people of Namibia. Then after the meritocracy, we have a pragmatic approach to problem solving. With this, what I mean is we are not stuck on a spectrum of leftist to the centric and to the right hand movements or this or that ideology. If we are in a global village and we have an economic order as is defined in the Namibian constitution, we would look at what is the best solution to address issues of unemployment amongst our young people in the country. If it requires that we need to create jobs by applying the capitalist system where those that have the means of production set up industry and employ our people and they earn a living through that is a solution to unemployment, that would be the solution we would apply to solve that problem. So basically what I mean with being pragmatic is copying from the supreme leader of the Chinese people that it doesn't matter if a cat is black or white as long as it is able to catch the mouse. So literally that is how we would govern, by identifying the best possible solution to the problems the people of Namibia face and use that to address problems. Because if you are confined within an ideology in a specific system, whether it's communism or socialism or capitalism, none of that in their existence on its own were able to solve problems of the nations where these were adopted individually. And if you look at many of the communist countries around the globe, they apply capitalist principles in how they manage the marketplace. And, you know, while they are practicing communism in other areas, you also look at the socialist republics too. They apply the capitalist principles in how they interact and do business with the rest of the world. Also because of how intertwined and interdependent we are globally, because we live in a global village and our economic system around the globe is so interconnected that we are expected and required to trade with one another. It is impossible for us to identify a specific definition and say, this is who we are and only this will apply. But we are going to look at the best possible solution to deal with social problems that we have in our country.
What is economic reform and how does governance affect economic reform?
Well, economic reform is basically looking at your economic sector, looking at how your macro economy is managed, how you run the country is determined by the fiscal policy. It is influenced by international trade policy. It is also it also has bearing on the type of trade you do with your neighbors and internationally, but also the type of economy you run within the country. You have the microeconomics that looks at the household level and how the disposable income is spent, which is gained or collected from households giving their services and their products to influence the factors of production, whether it is through work. When they are employed, they earn a salary, and that salary then is used to take care of expenditure in the household, and that determines the amount of disposable income they have to spend on luxuries once they have taken care of the basic needs. The economy and the reforms that we require in our country is to look at the interactions and how beneficial those economic policies are for us to do business, but also to trade and also to live and supply our needs. So we need to look at the tax reform. We need to look at our fiscal policy. We need to look at investment policies. We need to look at income taxes. We have Order With Me, for example, a group of young people, vibrant, who have taken the leap of faith and decided they are going to enter this e-commerce sector, which is so vibrant in many other countries, and they are able to purchase stuff for cheaper where they are produced at the source and bring them into the country. Yet you hear that, well, they've got to pay income tax, they've got to pay VAT, and at the end of the day, the unit they've ordered to come and resell here, the levies that they pay on that, the import levies and the VAT and the shipping costs end up costing more than the item that they have actually purchased. So how do we help these young entrepreneurs who participate in e-commerce to make it easier for them to bring in stuff that is beneficial to the larger public? Those are some of the discussions we need to have when we talk economic reform. We also need to talk about our fiscal policy in terms of doing trade. Those that have started their own businesses have got to pay corporate taxes. Many of them go under because the corporate taxes are almost equivalent to 50% of what they make. And it's impossible for them to expand and grow. What can we do to make sure that we protect those infant industries in terms of benefits? We've also read in the media lately that NIPDB, the entity which was set up to bring in investment, is only now lobbying government for incentives for investors. So why do we have an entity set up to bring in investors, and we have not prepared ourselves to be able to attract these investors with the incentives that we give? How do we empower the small and medium enterprises, but also the micro entities, the individuals, a young lady who's running her own salon business? How do we empower her to grow and train others and become big eventually, and also export some of those skills that they have here? Because I know there are unique hairstyles, for example, that are only done in the Kavango region. How do we export that skill and make these young people grow? So it's important that we look at the economy in its whole, in its entirety, from the micro to the macro level, to understand what are some of the reforms that need to come in, what are some of the laws that need to change. Do we over-regulate business? Do we under-regulate in other instances? And how can we manage and strike a balance that everyone is able to thrive in this very harsh economic climate that we have all over the world, where people are trying to make ends meet?
NGS, when we talk about what Namibians want, what are the most pressing needs currently that Namibians face?
I have done a bit of traveling myself around this country and have sat down with people and asked them, should we take over government in 2025, and we will, what would be the one thing that you would want an IPC-led government to do for you? They're asking for basic things. They're not asking to be flown to this or that country or to be given this or that. All they want are basic things, basic needs, as really defined by Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you look at the pyramid of Maslow, the very base is the basic needs, human needs. Shelter. All they want is a roof over their heads. We can't have people sleep under bridges. We are approaching winter, and the winters in Windhoek are ruthless. So we have people sleeping under the bridges. All they want is a roof over their head. All they want is to be able to relieve themselves by protecting their dignity, go into a bathroom and be able to do that. than using the bush 33 years after independence. All they want is to send their children to schools, not to schools without roofs and ceilings falling off, or them trying to find shade from the rain. All they want is for their children to go to school and have a decent education. What they want, young people that have completed their education and that have now, because of the system and how it is designed, gone out of school and are unemployed and out of school youth, all they want is a job, to be able to just buy a few goods for their families, clothing for themselves, be able to take care of their responsibilities, being able to take care of their parents and grandparents. But currently we have a situation where those who rely on the elderly pension have to make it stretch and go round to try and take care of their children, whom they have sacrificed all their life to try and send to school, are done with school and unable to find jobs. So what the people of Namibia want are basic needs. And we should be ashamed of ourselves if we call ourselves leaders to have, after 33 years, a nation that is unable to take care of its young, a nation that is unable to provide the basic needs for its children and for its residents or citizens, because we have so many resources in this country. These resources can go a long way if we have the right government that is really focused on ensuring that we restore the dignity of our people. It's not just a statement or a phrase that we use, but we mean what we say. Restoring the dignity of our people is to just make sure that a mother does not have to fight a crocodile to save her child 33 years after independence. That a mother does not have to beg in the streets to be able to feed her children 33 years after independence. Yet we hear about CEOs who are demanding 300,000 Namibian dollars a month for carrying out a job. Is that the type of people we are raising in this country? We need to raise a nation where young people look up to the leaders and say, because of these people, I was able to accomplish this and I will serve my country with diligence. We want teachers to take pride in their jobs. We want police officers and members of the military to take pride in their job, not to be embarrassed and not to be taken for granted, not to be shy to say what profession they practice, because we have forgotten the importance of the security services in our country. So it's important that we really go back and do the basics right. Once we get the basic right, we can then talk about fourth industrial revolution. We can then talk about smart cities. But we can't talk about smart cities and fourth industrial revolution and all these things that we talk about when our people don't have a roof over their heads, when they can't open a tap to get water, when they have to beg to find a place to sleep.
So in order for Namibia to enjoy progress, government needs to take charge of its resources, which is currently not the case.
Absolutely.
Which is not creating the self-sustainability that Namibia needs.
Absolutely.
To take care of the people.
Certainly. Because it's important only when we are managing our resources. You know, I read somewhere where it says we can talk about Namibia being endowed with so many natural resources. Why are we poor?
Mm-hmm.
What we need is knowledge. Unless you know how to extract uranium out of a rock, that's what it remains. And that's all it is, a rock. So we cannot keep on saying we're exporting so much yellow cake of our uranium resource when we don't have the know-how and we don't invest in our people to attain the skills to turn that yellow cake into a uranium rock to be able to extract energy out of it. So we need to invest in educating our people, but we first need to identify the type of economy Namibia is going to run, because it doesn't help that we have an economy that is so conflicting. We don't know if we are an extractive economy where we just extract raw material from underground that is going to finance that. And these aren't renewable resources. At some point, they will run out. And we've not invested in our people. We've not invested in the most important resource, which is the people of Namibia. We've got to invest in the people. We've got to educate our children, not just teach them about insects in head, thorax, and abdomen and how many legs a spider has, but they should be able to compete globally once they are done with their education. Is our education speaking to our economy? Or we are educating children to teach them how to count, and they are unable to understand what turns that yellow cake of the uranium into the uranium rods that are used in nuclear power stations. I don't know if that is the correct way of how that works because I'm not a scientist. But what I'm saying is we cannot continue to say we are a rich country and we do nothing about it. All we do are opening up mines and employing our people to extract the resource, but the value addition requires intensive skills training. Are we investing in that? And are we planning for the future? What is our vision as a nation? Where do we want to be in the next 50 years? The next generation of young people? Where do we see them? Because we will not be around in the next 50 years. If we are around, thank God. But what is it that we are doing to prepare the next generation of Namibians to benefit from the natural resources that we have? If we have an extractive economy and we're not setting ourselves up to invest into ensuring that we have a knowledge-based economy where our young people can confidently add value to the human race.
Absolutely. So IPC foresee being part of a planning government, long term, in order to create self-sustainability for future generations.
Absolutely. You cannot call yourselves leaders when those who come after you can't reap the benefits of what you have done. As a parent, that's what you do. Once a child is born, you set up their future. You already plan for their university. You plan for the day that they walk out of your house and start their life. If you fail to plan, you will raise your grandchildren the same way you've raised your children. But if you raise your children right, you will enjoy your grandchildren because their parents will take care of them. Now, that's the same is true for Namibia as well. As leaders, we need to plan for the future. We cannot only think about ourselves because whatever resources we have should be beneficial for generations to come. Many of the things that we have, we will not see the results in our lifetime, but those who come after us will see the results of what we have invested and what we have planned. The same is true for the liberation struggle. Many perished. Many of us who were born after that phase are not aware of what they went through. But we are able to learn from the remnants of those who remain what was what life was like. They didn't have internet. They didn't have podcasts. They needed to write down, and many of them didn't know how to write. But you and I can sit here and instantly communicate to the people out there because technology has moved. Somebody planned this before you and I came. And that is the same is true for Namibia. We have got to plan for the future. The same is true for the IPC. That's why I just said in my introduction that we are ready to take over government on the 21st of March 2025. Why? Because we've planned for that. We've planned already and we're in the process of planning, making long-term plans of what we intend to do when we attain power, political power, but also the administration of this country. It's important that we understand the geopolitics. It's important that we understand the economic cycle. It's important that we understand what it means to belong to the SADC community, to be part of the AU, to be part of the United Nations, so that when we are in power, we don't go there and get surprised at, oh, is this what it means? We already start empowering ourselves, and we already start understanding how the state is being run.
Perfect. What is IPC's position on unemployment protests and why that position?
IPC is a party that is premised on several principles, including the rule of law. And that principle of the rule of law is taken directly from Article 1, Sub-Article 1 of the Namibian Constitution. Because the Namibian Constitution is the supreme law, which also defines how this nation of Namibia shall be governed, one of which is the rule of law. We don't have a problem with people protesting, because that's a democratic right that everybody has, is to protest. Peaceful demonstrations are permissible in the laws of Namibia. What we have a problem with is when we break the laws during our protests, when we trespass, when we loot, when we cause violence, when we fight. That we have a problem with, because then it becomes a criminal activity from a peaceful demonstration. We believe that the people of Namibia have a right to express their dismay or unhappiness at the polls by voting. Cast your votes and vote for those, vote people out of office who are not delivering, and vote the next government in that. If they too don't deliver, you exactly use the same vote to go and vote against that government or the public official. Demonstrations and protests, especially when they are violent, cause more pain than they do harm. Than they do good. Because very often after the demonstration, that problem persists. It doesn't go away. And you come back with the next protest, and again the same thing happens. It doesn't go away. So it's important that we follow the rule of law and make sure that when we vote, we put our vote and hold those that we have voted for accountable once we have put them in power. Because I think many of us don't understand what it means to vote and what that power means. Because you often find young people say it doesn't help to vote. Even when we vote, things don't change. But your abstinence from casting your vote makes sure that whoever is in power remains in power. So it's important that we go and ensure that we change office bearers that don't deliver. That's the power that is given to the sovereign, to make sure that we do that democratically and we do that within the confines of the rule of law.
Absolutely. You want to change the government?
Vote. Indeed.
So the next question. IPC has a few new and exciting media projects in the making.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the planned IPC newsletter?
Well, the IPC, as I said in my introduction, we don't do the regular stuff everybody else does. Because they say in psychology that the first sign of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. And we have seen that politics in Namibia has just been a template that was static, and everybody has been using that template. I don't know if they intended to get different results, but if they were okay with what was happening. In the IPC, we try and move things up, not for show, but because our intention is really to change how things are done in Namibia for the better. And we will have a newsletter that we'll be launching very soon. I hope maybe I'll get another invitation to come when we are launching this newsletter. The newsletter is basically to inform, educate our patriots in Namibia, but also all peace-loving Namibians who are interested in the development of this country to get information around where the party is, what we are doing, also highlighting some of the projects that we are currently implementing, get to showcase our leadership, get to showcase some of the strategies that we have developed, quite a number of things, interviews, sports events. You all know how energetic the Chief Patriot is. He runs faster than me and most of the young people that I've seen. He runs faster than them because he's a very fit young man. So there's quite a number of exciting news and future plans of the party that will be disclosed in the newsletter, but also to take it offline because majority of our people live in rural areas. They don't have access to social media. We have a very vibrant social media, but this newsletter would be the one that we will also take offline into the villages, and people would have time to peruse through it, come back and reread stories and have a discussion wherever they are as they are reading the newsletter. So that is the purpose of launching this newsletter.
It's exciting. We are looking forward to seeing the newsletter in action.
Thank you very much.
NGS, it is always a pleasure and very insightful conversing with you. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you very much also for telling us more of what we can expect in the future and what we should be expecting of our government.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having me.
Thank you.